Hello, my name is Asian Rochester, and this is my week 7 presentation on Henrietta Lacks. So, Henrietta Lacks was a devoted wife and mother of 5 children. She was born in Roanoke, Virginia, and was born given the name Loretta. For whatever reason, she changed her name to Henrietta. She worked in the tobacco fields, which she actually enjoyed. She was a country girl. She didn't really care for the city life. She worked in the tobacco fields in both Virginia and once moved to Baltimore. So after her 5th child, she was complaining of abdominal pain and spotting. She went to the doctor for further reevaluation, where she was diagnosed with cervical cancer at Johns Hopkins. She was treated with radiation for about a year until her health deteriorated, and her cancer metastasized throughout her body. Henrietta passed away at the age of 31. So her HeLa cells. So during her treatment, Dr. Gay, which was the head of the tissue culture research at Johns Hopkins, extracted her cells without her knowledge or consent. So the HeLa cells is named after Henrietta, the first 2 letters of her first and last name. Her cells were cloned and used throughout medical research. Her cells were used to create the polio vaccine. They were used to study diseases, create new drugs. Her cells were really pioneer in medical research. Ethical violations. So the first ethical violation in this case is informed consent. Her family was not notified that her cells were even a thing. And of course, the patient, Henrietta Lacks, wasn't informed. She didn't have a say in whether or not her cells would be used or not. However, in the 1950s, it was common for extra tissue to be used in research, and there were no established practices in place for obtaining or informing patients for consent. And next is privacy. Her cells were used in various capacities throughout medical research. However, her information was out there, her name, her medical condition. She had no say in her privacy. So for her family was not notified about the cells until the 1970s. This is over 20 years after she passed away. And they were only notified because a medical researcher reached out to them, seeking blood samples and genetic material. In 1998, Rebecca Skloot did a documentary on Henrietta Lacks titled The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, which actually gave light to the situation, her family, and how everything has transpired. And then in 2013, the NIH granted the Lacks family control over the HeLa cells. I feel as though the government should provide financial compensation to the Lacks family. Her cells have launched multi-million-dollar industry in biological materials. However, her family still remains in poverty. They haven't received any financial benefit from her cells. I feel like that's the least they could do since they use her information and her cells without her or the family's consent. And they waited so long to let them know. And here's my reference page. Thank you very much for listening and watching.